Okay.
They're coming in.
Here we go.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell happened there. It's a mystery.
The line fell. Lost our connection.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. Yeah, I lost the entire connection because I lost the Wi-Fi for a second. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what's going on.
Is it the second time be a charm? I don't know.
Well, we'll see.
We'll see. We got 40 minutes in and then it just died.
Mm-hmm. What are you gonna do? Hey, Dom the Bomb, what's going on?
We gotta get some ice.
Yeah, here we are. We're back.
Yep.
Just took me a while because it's like, well, I didn't know if it was going to come back on, so I said, well, I'm going to go to the bathroom and, like, fix another drink. And then I came back, and Tom was like, nope, it's still gone. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I got to start another one. Yeah, I don't know what the hell it is. We don't usually have, it doesn't, we don't usually have problems, but, you know what I mean? Every now and then, it kind of shits the bed, and this is one of those times. This is one of those times. So, all right, what were you were talking about the Omega Man, probably.
Yeah. People back in? Well, we got some.
Yeah, there's some back in.
Yeah, it was just at that time in that year, black nationalism was big, so they wanted to have a black nationalist character, and they thought, well, Neville's a white military man, so we need somebody that's like opposite. So they made her a female Black Panther. Yeah, and. You know, they were cool. You know, they're friends. It's just you know, because the world was over, basically, as they knew it. So it's a good story. She ends up turning and becoming part of the family because she was infected, but they cured her later on. But it's good.
Spoiler alert. Yeah, I mean, it's an old movie.
Well, they don't show her being cured, but you assume she got cured.
Xana said, "Was she hot though?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're not going to put a woman in a movie like that and have her not be hot. Yeah. That's just not how it works. She had a
perfectly round afro.
She had cool-ass hair.
Yeah,
I liked her. I liked her outfits in it, too.
Yeah, she's dressed in cool 70s outfits. Pulled a gun on him. She pulled a fucking Colt.
I don't blame her.
Pulled a Colt 03 pocket hammerless 32 auto on him. Says, you get on that bike, you cool it. She said, you cool it. He's like, all right.
That was some 70s lingo.
You cool it. Yeah.
You cool it, turkey.
Yeah. She made him.
She didn't say that.
She made him take her out of the damn, out of the damn arena, because the mutants took him into an arena where they were going to burn him at the stake, but they escaped.
As you do.
Yeah, it's pretty good. He's like, hey, it's you. You know, like he'd seen her before.
Yeah, Xana says she can't pick and choose when the world's ending.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I don't want to spoil it.
You already did.
There were other people. They had a...
yeah, they weren't the only people.
They weren't the only ones.
Yeah, there were actually...
She was part of a whole party of people.
He just didn't know about it.
She was part of a whole party of people. Most of them were children. And the guy who was kind of in charge of children was a young guy in his 20s who hadn't graduated from college yet, but he was into like biochemistry, and he knew about what was going on with the bioweapons, and he was trying to cure these kids. But he was a biker. He had a fucking chopper, fucking brown leather jacket, and he was doing stuff too. He was riding around throwing bombs and shit at the mutants.
It was kind of like they were trying to bring together like the man with like the counterculture. Like, yeah, the world ended, so, you know, it's all right. Y'all can get along.
Yeah, in the 70s, it was more relevant. Socially relevant. That, you know, that the man and then people who were, like, not with the man.
Because Charlton Heston was representing the man.
Right,
Big time.
Yeah, he was like establishment.
Right.
And then they were, like, the counterculture people.
Right.
Nowadays, the younger people wouldn't fucking probably get that.
Well, there's a lot, you know, I don't know. I don't know if I want to say, because I do kind of feel like we've talked about this before with movies and music and stuff, where sometimes it doesn't hit the same if you didn't live through the context that they're talking about. Like, you can appreciate it and you can, like, intellectually, like, know, oh, this and that was going on at this time period. But if you lived through it, I think it's different. Yeah. You know what I mean?
But Hest, man, I'm going to call him the Hest.
The Hest.
Yeah, the Hest was...
At the behest of Hest.
Yeah. I got a certain admiration for the Hest. He was kind of a establishment kind of figure, just as a dude, you know. And he did play those kind of roles. And he was a very traditional kind of guy. And he was kind of like a man's man of the 60s and the 70s.
Macho man.
Yeah, but kind of like he was kind of a throwback, really.
Yeah.
Even in those days, he was kind of a throwback to like the 50s. He was just a cooler version of the 50s.
Yeah.
He's. I mean, some people have a hard time seeing Hest, you know, and not think of Moses, because he played Moses in the fucking in the what is it, the greatest story ever told, I think is what the name.
I thought it was the Ten Commandments.
Ten Commandments. That's the Ten Commandments. That's right. Which is another great flick. If you've never seen the Ten Commandments, that's the old school Hollywood.
We should probably review that one.
Yeah.
Although isn't that movie like 5 hours long or something?
No, it's not that long.
Okay.
It's not that long. Yeah, it had.
I thought I remembered it being really long.
Yeah, and it had that fucking badass motherfucker from Westworld, the bald guy. What was his name?
Yul Brynner.
Yul Brynner's in it. Yeah, he plays Pharaoh.
That dude's kind of sexy.
Yeah, fucking Brenner was the shit, man.
I always thought he was pretty sexy.
He was the shit until he died. Died of lung cancer, smoking all them cigarettes.
Yeah, he even did. And the creepy thing, do you remember this? They made him do like anti-smoking ads.
Yeah.
And they aired them after he died.
Yeah.
So it was almost like he was on there being like, please don't smoke, like after he was dead.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, that was pretty creepy.
Brenner was the original Terminator.
From Westworld, yeah.
Yeah. In Westworld, he played a robot that was going berserk as a robot gunfighter and was running around killing the fucking guests at the amusement park. And a lot of the ideas of Terminator was ripped off.
I mean, came from that, yeah.
Came from Westworld, the original Westworld.
Because I know they remade it.
Yeah. And Brenner does a fucking great job in that, and he mostly doesn't say anything. There's just his visual acting, his face. And then they're showing what the robot sees as he sees, you know, fucking kind of like infrared. And
yeah.
It's real good.
Because remember we reviewed the sequel to that, too.
Yeah. But Hest was a man of his time and an actor of his time. He was kind of stiff in a way, but there was kind of stiff and uptightness to him in a certain way. But he had a cool side to him. I would say he was kind of like a prototype Arnold Schwarzenegger. He played a lot of the roles Arnold probably would have been cast in had he been back in those days. The thing was about Hest, he had a fucking badass face. He'd take his shirt off though, and they'd take his shirt off in the fucking movies, and he was just bones, really. He didn't have any muscle on him, really. He was big. He was like probably 6'2", but he was just bony, really. And
you could get away with that back then.
You could get away with it back then.
You didn't have to be like all buff or anything.
In the movies, he's throwing his weight around like he weighs 300 pounds of pure muscle. But, you know, fucking Arnold would fucking fold him up like a fucking cheap card table.
He probably
would.
You know,
fucking...
Well, I kind of feel like, because Xana said, what's your thoughts on Charles Bronson?
Bronson was the shit.
I always rather liked Charles Bronson. And I think he's a better actor than a lot of people give him credit for. Good. The thing about it is that Charles Bronson and Charlton Heston and all of those kind of actors of that ilk, I guess. Not necessarily that generation, because there's a different kind of actor that was more like that came from more like a stage acting kind of tradition.
Yeah.
But when you had these guys that were known for their like manly man roles, they were like in westerns or action movies or something like that, and their whole thing was to like play these very stoic, manly man type characters. It's like, you know, my wife got raped and I'm gonna go get revenge and all this other kind of stuff. And I get the feeling like a lot of those actors they didn't have a lot of range, I feel.
No, they were playing the same role over and over.
They were pretty much playing the same role over and over. But I do think that Charles Bronson had more range than that would you know, suggest.
What Jenny didn't mention about Bronson though is that Bronson was mostly known for his later roles when he was older.
Yeah. He was in a ton of shit when he was younger.
Yeah, and he's not real his physicality, he's not real physical. His rep was built on what he looked like when he was young. And fucking when he was young, he was fucking shredded. He was probably about an inch taller than me. Wasn't a big guy, but he probably weighed about another 5-10 pounds than I do. He was fucking shredded, and he had a real good V taper. He worked out. He was very physical.
He was in real good shape, like when he was younger.
Bronson could fuck you up. All right,
I would
not fuck with that dude when he was in his prime, and he had a badass wife back in the fucking 60s and 70s. He and her walked down the fucking street in these fucking funky outfits and shit. Her fucking midriff show.
I know, it was so great. We like, there's old pictures of them.
Yeah,
and it's like they're so
down,
cool.
just walk around in public and shit. Fucking Bronson's arms were fucking bigger than mine. Bigger than mine. He was jacked.
He was a big dude.
Yeah, he was jacked. So when you think of Bronson, you see a Charles Bronson movie, you're like, eh.
Well, like for the ones from like the late 70s and 80s, like yeah, he's older then. But he was in shit like going way back.
My favorite Bronson movie, there's two of them, but my favorite one was called Red Sun, and Charles Bronson plays a train robber who's left a gang of train robbers, and he falls in with a Japanese samurai to retrieve the emperor's sword that got stolen during a damn train robbery. And he's fucking looking good in that too, and he's 40s, and he's fucking shredded. And he's playing with a real famous Japanese actor that was in Tora Tora Tora.
That's a great flick too. Yeah. If you haven't seen that.
You want to see Red Sun, and it's a rare
I saw that
movie.
in school.
You could probably see Red Sun, S-U-N, okay, Sun. You could probably see Red Sun free on YouTube. It used to be free on YouTube without any ads. It's from, like, I don't know, 1970s, 71, 72, around that time. You could look it up.
I think 10 to Midnight might be my favorite of his, but I don't know. I'd have to go back and look.
And then there was another one that he played an assassin with, what was it, Jan Michael Vincent?
Yeah.
And
we reviewed that one.
We reviewed that movie. That was a good one. It was called Professional?
No.
What was it called?
What the fuck was the name of that? Oh shit. We just did it.
Yeah.
Like a couple months ago. God, my brain's
They kind of cut out from the movie that the two dudes, the two assassins, were gay. But that was originally in the story.
It was, yeah.
And it makes a lot more sense when you understand.
Because I kind of got that vibe from the movie too.
Yeah, you could get the vibe from.
And then I was just kind of like, in the original story, like, were these two supposed to be lovers? Because I'm kind of getting that vibe. But yeah, that's what we found out. Because like I said, I think when we reviewed that, we talked about that. They
were like brutal, psychopathic, homosexual assassins.
Kind of like the Cray brothers.
Yeah, and they were like. Well, they weren't having sex with each other.
Well, no, because they were brothers. That would be really weird.
What was his name? Fucking the dude that was fucking tying up the little boys to the board.
Oh, Dean Coral.
Dean Coral. It's kind of like that shit. They were fucking sick.
How can I just bring?
And then eventually they turned on each other.
That's probably not.
They started to turn on each other to kill each other, but they were making a shit ton of money, fucking killing people for different organized crime outfits, and they were getting more and more creative with it. I just forgot the name of that movie.
I'll think of it like in a minute because we just reviewed it like literally like a few months ago.
That's a good one.
Yeah, Xana is asking what ethnicity he was, and Tammy said Lithuanian.
He was Lithuanian, yeah. He's European.
Yeah, Charles Baczynski was his real name. Yeah, ethnic Russian from Lithuania.
Yeah.
Part of the Russian Empire at the time.
Now, the greatest Southern action hero of all times was fucking Burt Reynolds, all right? And Burt Reynolds was in a bunch of whitesploitation movies.
Yeah.
They were made by the South.
Or Hicksploitation is what they would call that.
They were made by the South for the South. There was a Southern movie studio that was out of, I think, Nashville. And it wasn't Hollywood. But they did very well. I think Smoking the Bandit was one of the movies from that studio.
The Mechanic, that was the name of that movie.
The Mechanic, that's right.
Tammy, thank you.
Very good movie.
Like I said, we just reviewed it like a couple months ago. I just couldn't remember.
You want to see White Lightning. All right, that was a fucking real good one with Burt Reynolds. Him getting out of prison to help the police figure out who killed his brother. All right, to break a fucking an organized crime ring. I think it might be Mississippi or Alabama, but it's the South I remember as a child, and they got it right. It's called White Lightning.
I kind of
watch it for free on YouTube.
I grew up in Florida, so I kind of feel like we were legally obligated to like watch Burt Reynolds movies because I saw a bunch of them when I was growing up, whether I wanted to or not.
Yeah. And
they were always on.
There's a sequel to White Lightning called Gator.
Yeah. We've reviewed both of them.
It's pretty good. We were reviewing them both.
We went off on kind of a Burt Reynolds tear for a little while.
No,
we did Best Little Whorehouse in Texas
with Dolly Parton,
which is also super fun.
Dolly was hot as shit, man.
It's a musical.
Go look at Dolly.
She's still hot.
She's got to be 90. She's hot.
Yeah, and she's just seems like a delightful person.
Yeah,
she seems delightful.
And then
please don't tell me otherwise.
There was another Burt Reynolds movie that we saw. We liked it. It was taking place in the 80s, and he was a cop in Atlanta. Remember, he had the black partner.
Yeah.
He was having the psychic episodes and shit.
Yeah, that's right. What the fuck was the name of that shit?
That was a good movie. It didn't have Gene Simmons in it as the no.
No, that was Runaway. That was the Tom Selleck one.
Yeah, we've seen
so many
movies. The villain
movies.
in it kind of reminded me of Gene Simmons.
Yeah, I see what you.
But I don't remember what the name of that
Camp
movie
Guy said Sharky's Machine.
Sharky's Machine.
That's
fucking right. Sharky's Machine.
See, they know.
That was like one.
We can't remember.
That was one of Burt Reynolds' best movies. Sharky's Machine. Yeah, shit was good. But no, I endorse Reynolds. Burt Reynolds was the shit, man, back in the day. Forgotten now.
Not really, because he was in Boogie Nights.
True.
That was like that was his comeback.
That was his comeback.
And he was fucking great in that. What a fucking great movie that is. I love that fucking movie. I saw that in the theater when it came out, and I've seen it multiple times since then.
Smokey and the Bandit.
I never get sick of that.
Smokey and the Bandit, and the sequel was just kind of a movie you could get drunk to. And get high.
I saw Smokey and the Bandit so many times.
Yeah,
it was on HBO and Cinemax every day. Yeah. And, I was a kid. I was probably 10, 11, something like that. And, you get home from school, you turn on the cable. Oh, Smokey and the Bandit's on again. Or the Cannonball Run is on again. You just kind of sit there and watch it and have a snack. Nothing else to do. No internet.
Another good Burt Reynolds flick was he was playing a government assassin who said fuck it. He walked away from the job. He didn't want anything to do with it anymore. He moves out in the middle of nowhere in this little bitty town where this teenage girl falls in love with him. But the bad guys track him down there, and he's got to fight them all in the fucking town. It's called Malone.
That was a good one too.
That was pretty good. Yeah.
Like I said, we went off on a whole Burt Reynolds tear.
Malone.
Like several months ago.
It's just a low budget action flick, and it's very simple, and it was good. Burt Reynolds did a good job.
I love that kind of shit. Yeah. I love that kind of shit.
It was just a movie you just watch and just enjoy it. You don't think too much about it, But there were some good action scenes in it. But underappreciated. Fucking he was a Southern fucking action hero legend.
Yeah, I mean he was huge back in the day.
Yeah.
And like I said, he got like a real big resurgence like when Boogie Nights came out because he might have even got an Oscar nom for that. Yeah. I feel like he maybe did.
Burt Reynolds was the guy that my dad would have fucking dug. You know what I'm talking about? It was like our parents' generation.
Yeah, my dad was super. Yeah. That's how we ended up watching it. Because like I said, my dad's not, I don't know if I'd call my dad a redneck, but kind of.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was all like Burt Reynolds movies and NASCAR and all that kind of stuff, like in our house growing up. Dukes of Hazzard, So it was all that kind of stuff. It's, it's Florida. Kenny says, "Hi, Jenny and Tom. Just finished listening to your Jeffrey Epstein live stream. So much information I never heard before." Oh, that's good. So yeah, I tried to do a deep dive on it. I didn't reveal anything that wasn't out there, you know what I mean? But, I did kind of try to put it in some kind of interesting, when there's so much information out there about something, it's I try to cover it all, but I tend to stick to stuff that I think is really interesting or what's going to be most interesting to you guys, I feel like. Tammy said that Charles Bronson was one of 15 kids. Whenever I hear something like that, holy crap. Because look, my grandma, my maternal grandma, she had 8 kids. My mom had 7 siblings. And even that, I was just hearing that makes me tired. I don't even understand how you would even do that. You know what I mean? We have 3 cats, and that makes me tired. I can't even imagine having more than one child. So kudos to all the people that have more than that. 8 children, 15 children. I can't even imagine. Joseph says, I remember Charles Bronson in an episode of The Twilight Zone with Elizabeth Bewitched Montgomery.
That's right.
That's Tom's girlfriend there.
Yeah.
Well, see, one of my favorite things about watching like Boris Karloff's Thriller and old Twilight Zone and old Outer Limits and stuff, you see the same actors like turning up, like character actors. And a lot of times you're just kind of like, oh, hey, I know that actor from like a later movie, and it's like here they are when they're young, and that's so fucking cool, like seeing them turn up in that stuff.
In Charles Bronson and Elizabeth Montgomery, they did a thing. It was a post-apocalyptic story. Remember, he was playing like a Soviet soldier, survivor.
That was a good episode
that they'd invaded, and it's like the nuclear war was over, and they were enemies, but they end up, I think, becoming lovers, don't they?
Well, I mean, it's Elizabeth Montgomery.
Yeah, right.
So
yeah. It was a good flip.
Anybody that meets her,
Elizabeth Montgomery, come on, man.
I would hit.
Damn. Actually, from that era, Elizabeth Montgomery and fucking Barbara Eden. It's hard to beat Barbara Eden. That girl was fucking cute, man. Super cute.
They were beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, you know,
and they were the competition for each other. Bewitched and I Dream of Jeannie were competitors, and they knew, well, we got to fucking beat Barbara Eden, and fucking the other network came up with fucking Elizabeth Montgomery, which is a great answer. That's a great response to Barbara Eden. Those are both very beautiful women of the 60s. Fucking gorgeous.
I mean, yeah, and I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But me, I'm like more into like Morticia, Carolyn Jones.
Yeah.
And Barbara Steele.
I don't remember which one that was.
Oh, she was in a lot of Italian movies. She's British, but she was in a lot of Italian movies.
I recognize
she was in like
her.
Black Sunday, the Mario Bava movies and stuff like that. Ooh, she's hot as shit. And she was in some David Cronenberg movies too.
Yeah.
She was in Shivers. Remember, she was the one that had the parasite thing go up her cooch in the bathtub.
Yeah, yeah.
I love Barbara
The
Steele.
thing with Barbara is Barbara Eden was about the body. Okay, she had a fucking killer body, especially for the '60s. That was, and you know, you always had good-looking women. I mean, there are pictures of fucking just knockout strippers from the '50s.
I mean, it's an embarrassment of riches, really.
Yeah. Belle Starr and some of them old.
Yeah.
From the '50s.
I had some old. I have a DVD
strippers.
with like some old footage of her.
Yeah.
Like one of those old like '50s erotica things with Betty Page and stuff on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a couple of those.
Yeah, they had strippers from the '50s that were just no silicone. They were just genetically gifted. They fucking looked great. Nowadays the industry has too much demand. There has to be more people, so fucking implants is the way to go now. You know, just bump it up that way. Only certain girls were born lucky enough.
Sure, but like I said, I'm willing to take people if they got their own like thing going on. I can appreciate their own thing going on. They don't necessarily. I know you're all about the titties and everything, but
that was the world of stripping.
Sure. It's like implants are good, no implants are good. And it's, you know what I mean? It's fine. It's whatever your kind of thing is, I'm gonna be
and
about.
A lot of those girls ended up in Russ Meyer's movies, like what's her name? Santana. What was her name? The something or other Santana. She was the girl from Faster Pussycat.
Zoe Sultana.
Sultana, that's right.
Not Santana. That's the band.
Sultana, that's right. She was like she was a Japanese girl, I believe, with fucking just very well endowed. I don't know if she was full-blooded Japanese, but was she? Do you remember? She was Japanese.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up.
Like, I think she might have been half Japanese.
I really need to read you that Russ Meyer book. You would love that.
Me and Russ would get along real well. We had
I have a biography of Russ.
Yeah, me and Russ and a lot of other guys like boobs. Now the thing is that shit, even back in the 50s, was a stripper only thing. If you showed that on television, they thought that was hypersexuality and that it was
it's like
it was rude and gross. Man, they were born that way. You can't blame that woman for looking like that. Dudes liked it. Put them into fucking movies, and Russ Meyer's had it right. No, we're gonna show it. This is the way these women are built.
He's like, no, we're just gonna put.
We're gonna show it. Fucking like hell yeah.
We're taking advantage.
Yeah, show that shit. That's the way they looked. You know.
I mean, you know.
You gonna say that we can't put you in the movies because your boobs are too big?
Like it's a disability
or
something?
No. No. What are you talking about?
Well, like I said, it's not as bad as it was. Like, because girls with naturally big boobs.
Yeah.
It's like I said, it's better than it used to be. But like back in the day, if you had real big boobs, people were gonna think you were a slut, like, no matter what. Even if you try to, like, cover them up, even if you try to, like...
It's like that in Japan today.
That's what I mean, and it's kind of like, that's fucked up. It's like, look,
terrible.
They're my boobs. I can't help it. Like, I was born like this.
She's a slut because she's born with them big old boobs. She's
right,
just
it's
a
like,
girl.
I'm just
she's
a
got
girl.
some big old boobs. See, it's your reaction. You're projecting.
Yeah, exactly.
You're projecting onto that.
That's fucked up.
That girl might be a virgin for all you know.
That's what I mean. There's no way of knowing.
There's no way of knowing.
There's no way of knowing.
Yeah.
Like I said, if they get like humongous like beach ball implants, then yeah, that's a different thing.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's for porn or for fetish or whatever, just because you want that.
Some girls have boob greed.
Which, yeah, and that's fine too.
That's like dudes that
But I'm just saying that
big, you know.
Some women are born with humongous titties.
Yeah.
And it's not like you can do, and, you know, some of them are just kind of like they're sick of the attention, so they're like, yeah, I'm going to get the shit reduced.
Yeah. Don't do it, ladies.
Well, no, I mean, you can't blame them, though, because it's just kind of like... You can't tell them that, Tom.
Don't do it, ladies. That's my opinion.
You
do
can't
not
tell
do
them
it.
that,
No,
Tom.
my opinion is...
Well, no one has to listen to your opinion.
Just leave them alone. I mean, you're
yeah, but like I said...
They're gifts, and learn to work with those gifts.
I know, but I can see how some people would want to, like, not have that. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it would be nice to just, like, go out and be, like, normal without everybody, like, staring at you. And
It'd also be nice to
ooh, what a hoe.
It'd also be nice to run across some chick who's just got these huge boobs. So you got to look at it from the guy's point of view, too.
Yeah, but we look at everything from the guy's point of view always. Nobody cares about, like, our point of view, do they?
You just boobs, and you're fucking cool, and yeah, you're pretty, and fucking, yeah, this is it, man. Dream come true. And that, you know, cha-ching, you can get married.
Right,
you know?
but...
Guys... Well, I come from a big.
That's the only.
I come from a big boob family.
That's the only reason you want to marry somebody is because they have big boobs.
No, I come from a big boob family. My mom was huge. All of her sisters were huge. She had fucking 7 sisters.
This still might be a weird thing that you're.
Yeah, and it's just genetic. It's just genetic in me, you know. Yeah.
He got used to seeing big titties like from when he was a baby.
That's what they're supposed to look.
And it's like that's what they're supposed to be.
Yeah. When my mom in her prime was built kind of like Sally Fields when she was in her prime. Short, little waist, hips, big old double G cup types, boobs, blonde. Got pictures of it too, around here somewhere.
Weird, Tom.
No, I ain't lying. No, I'm just saying. You know,
no, I know.
I'm not lying. You've seen pictures of her.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Xana said I always had a huge crush on Elizabeth Taylor. Yeah, I can see that. She was actually gorgeous when she was younger.
Elizabeth Taylor. Oh, her,
yeah. And then Joseph says, what about Yvonne DiCarlo? Yes, also hot.
Cute.
Also hot.
Cute, yeah.
I think people only know her as Lily Munster, but like she was in a bunch of shit before that.
Howard Hughes dated her.
Yeah. And she's beautiful. She was beautiful.
Yeah.
All of those, I really have a thing for like all of those kind of actresses from back then. There was something about that look that they had I really was into. Jeffy Art says, Morticia and Gomez are what any kinky or non-kinky couple should aspire to, gay or straight. See, that's what I always thought. That's what I always loved about the Addams Family. That's why I think the Addams Family, even like going back to the original cartoon, or the original comic strip, I think the thing that I liked about that was that it would be very easy to make it so that like the characters that were weird looking were actually weird. But the cool thing about the Addams Family was that they were super weird looking, but they were just kind of like this loving, really kind of normal family, and all the normies were the weirdos.
Yeah.
And it's like, and I really, really related to that. I liked that a lot.
Yeah, the Munsters was a response from another network to the Addams Family.
Yeah.
Because the Addams Family was a hit.
I mean, I just thought that was a genius conceit.
Yeah.
And I love that they made Gomez and Morticia like the perfect couple.
Yeah.
They didn't fight. They got along really. Yeah. They were super in love with each other. And it's like, I always thought that was so cool.
Yeah. I saw an interview with people that wrote the concepts behind both of those films, both of those series. What it was is in California, you had people moving there from the interior of the United States. That's how my parents got there in the 60s. My mother her family was from Virginia, and my dad's family was from Mississippi. But they moved to California because of Vietnam and my dad being in the service, and my mother's father being a contractor in the aerospace industry. And what the series was about, you had people from the interior of the country moving to California, and there were other people living next door to them that didn't come from the interior of the country. They might have come from Mexico or from other countries. So from the point of view of a person who'd come to the interior of the country, they were real weird, these people that were living next door to you.
They're not like me. What's
they're not like
about?
us. But the story is that, no, they are like you. They just look weird to you.
Yeah.
Because you're not used to seeing them.
Right.
So everything about...
Most people are pretty similar when you get right down to it.
So it was... The idea was to kind of like poke fun at people's prejudices about people who look different.
Like I said, genius.
Right. And that's what the...
Especially for that time period.
Right.
And because it was a little bit fantasy, because the Addams Family was like clearly very over the top.
Yeah.
You know, even though I'm not going to lie, I would totally live in that house. But... you know, they could get away with it because it was kind of like, well, it's not really realistic.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So I think that was like, and, you know, and you know, the monsters did kind of the same thing. It's like they're, you know, they're universal monsters, essentially.
Yeah.
You know, but they kind of played with the same idea.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the Addams Family kind of got there first. Like, it was there in the comic strip. And I just loved that concept because that's kind of how I always felt. To be honest with you, like, having grown up in the goth scene from a very young age, from when I was, you know, like a preteen, normies seemed kind of fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, some goths are fucked up too. I'm not going to say that.
Not all normies though. Fucking like
no.
Bill was cool.
Well, yeah, like, and yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that generally, I think that people have this misconception. Not so much anymore, but I think that back then people had this misconception that if you looked gothy or something like that, ooh, you're into all this weird shit and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're real different.
Not really. I mean, most of them were a lot more well-adjusted than a lot of normal people that I knew.
We're taking appreciation of a different aspect
of
things that, you know. But when you looked at the Addams Family, there's a lot of giveaways, and nobody in the Addams Families is the same. Gomez is Latin. His wife isn't. They speak French.
Yeah.
Okay. Wednesday's a cute little girl. The brother isn't. He's kind of a little fat pudgy little dude. You got the fucking, what's his name? The butler is this huge, tall, skinny dude who's fucking creepy as shit.
Super hot.
So everybody's different.
I love Lurch.
Yeah, a lot of girls like that guy.
He's my favorite.
So a lot so everybody in the Addams Family visually looked different. And
Uncle Fester. You gotta
Uncle Fester is this crazy fucking bald dude who could fucking do
with his
weird
coat
shit,
with a light bulb in his mouth and stuff.
And they're just kind of saying that families, you know what I mean, fucking can be mixed. You could have people that are of different ethnic backgrounds. They're still people though. They're still doing normal shit, and they do funny shit. But you know what? Everybody does funny shit.
What I mean.
Everybody's got an Uncle Fester.
Everybody would be weird if it was looked at from some other perspective. That's kind of what they're trying to get at.
Yeah.
So I like that they made the Addams Family, and I mean, I know that was the joke, but I like that they made the Addams Family like the most normal people on the show. Yeah. Like, normal people would show up at the house and they would flip out and they'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with these motherfuckers? Like, and that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah, and then they'd feel sorry for people that they weird stuff,
which is kind of how I felt too, because I'm just like, look, if I had some like weird normie person like show up at my house and like come up in my office and be like, oh my god, what is all this, like with all the horror movie shit I have around there, I'd be like, what is your problem? Right. So it's just, so I kind of feel like
those two series were about playing with your idea of what's normal.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
That's why they were so good.
Yeah.
And like I said, they could get away with it because they were slightly fantasy based.
Yeah.
They weren't super realistic.
I think they were effective though. They spoke to people at the time, and people understood with the message.
Yeah.
That people do things differently. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, most people are generally the same.
Yeah.
Look at my bracelet got caught on my thing. I'm trying not to rip it, but High Desert said Eartha Kitt was hot. Oh hell yeah.
Yes.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Xanada said, not every guy likes huge boobs. I know Tom won't believe that, but I'm one of them. Yeah,
I know that.
People like different things.
I know that.
Like I said, I'm more of a...
I don't know what you did.
I didn't do anything. That's one
How
thing.
you got that on there?
I didn't. All I did was, like, just move my hand.
Okay.
We're gonna have to put a hole in it, probably.
All right.
There. It'll be fine.
It's not real noticeable.
I mean, they're just fishnets. I'll get another pair. But you know what I mean.
It didn't even make a hole.
Oh, that's something.
Yeah.
It's one of the dangers.
I don't think it ripped it.
That's one of the dangers of gosh
look,
shit.
it didn't break it.
Ooh, there's some
The
good
way it was
fishnets
caught,
then.
the way it just seemed to be.
Well,
caught.
see, yeah, like I would have just ripped it off, but I was afraid because I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna make this big huge hole. But it didn't. All right. It's one of the dangers, like one of the goth dangers.
It's almost 9.
Everything catches on everything.
Okay.
I know. Just
Okay.
chill out.
Go to the restroom.
Kaylin Higgins said Carol Kane had an awesome witchy look back in the 70s. Yeah, I love her too. She's awesome. I always really liked Carol Kane. Let me see. I used to like Bernadette Peters, said Camp Guy. Oh yeah, I remember her. She was super funny. I always liked her. Yeah, High Desert said the joke was the Adams were a functional family and everyone else around them was dysfunctional, despite them being gothy and weird. Yeah, and I really liked... I think that conveyed the message, like I said, like maybe more than it would have if you just... because it was just like funny, but you could relate to... You were supposed to relate to them and like not all these normies that were showing up at their house and fucking with their shit. And I don't know, I just really liked that. And I thought it was really clever. You know what I mean? It was a really clever way to get that across. And let me see. Best looking gal in the Munsters was Denise. Trying to remember her name. Oh yeah. She was the only normal looking one. That's was her name Marilyn? Like that was the character's name. I don't remember what the actress's name was. Yeah, Marilyn. Let's see. High Desert said most of my classmates thought all goths worshipped Satan. Yeah, well, when I was in school back in the 80s, that was a pretty common misconception, yeah. Pretty common. Especially during the whole Satanic Panic era. That's when that was. Because really that lasted into the 90s, I feel.
Yeah. Even though that wasn't goth kids, that was fucking heavy metal kids and black metal kids.
Yeah, it's like we were just kind of like, man, we're just
Goths
like
didn't care about
we're
that.
just like over here reading Byron. Piss off, you know what I mean? It's like, you know what I mean? It was that kind of shit. We're over here reading Byron and listening to The Cure.
Yeah, and the heavy metal crowd was doing it just to fuck with you.
Yeah, they didn't really take it serious. You know what I mean? Nobody did. That's why that whole Satanic Panic thing is so hilarious to me, because all these like old people were flipping out about it.
Only adults took that seriously.
They did. And it's like, and it's hard to overstate how fucked up that was unless you lived through it, because they really did. Old people at that time really did think that us young people were doing that stuff. And we just thought it was hysterical that they thought that. And because we thought it was hysterical, sometimes we'd like lean into it because they were taking it seriously and we didn't. So I just thought that was like super funny. But it ended up having not so good consequences though, because some people actually did get arrested for shit and it was not good. Like I said, we did a show about Satanic Panic. Actually, we did 2 shows about Satanic Panic. Did we talk about the McMartin preschool case though on the second one? I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Because that was like a huge, and that is fucked up, and that just goes to show how people's stupid beliefs can fuck up other people's lives who had nothing to do with anything.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we talked about it, but...
Your boobs look great on camera. Look at you. Look at you.
Tom can't even like think about anything regular because
no.
they're just boobs, Tom.
It's like gravitation.
It's a gravitational.
It's like gravitational field.
They're just boobs. I don't even think about it because it's like they're always there. It's not like I can take them off or
She knows I
anything.
love her boobs.
Yeah, he's really into these boobs. I don't. It's like so funny. He just wakes up in the morning and the first thing he does is like, boo. It's hilarious. You do.
Yeah. Worship. It's worship.
It's boob worship. Yeah.
Yeah.
He loves them.
Mm-hmm.
You know. Jeff Yard said, I feel that even back then, the Addams Family was a statement on how even being considered normal can come across as a disingenuous veneer. The Addams were so comfy in their own skin. Yeah, I think that was another thing that I liked about it, is that they were weird, but they weren't like self-conscious about, they couldn't even fathom like why anybody else would think what they were doing was weird.
Well, the normies that were fucking with them were the bad people.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I liked about it.
They were the good people.
Because I was like, that's how I always experienced life.
Yeah.
So it's like, so I really related very hard. I mean, the Addams Family, like the original TV show, was slightly before my time. But I saw them in reruns. And, you know, because they were on TV all the time. And I really, really related to that. And then I went back and got books of the old, you know, comic strips and stuff. Like the comic panels. And I'm just kind of amazed that they put a show like that on TV back then. Because it seems a little subversive. No. Just looking back on it. For the time.
At that time, the Hollywood had become basically joined to the military-industrial complex because of World War II. I've talked about this before. After World War II, psychologists... World War II is probably one of the best fucking highly organized events that the United States has ever done. That's they inducted so many people into the service. They were able to get a grasp on things like IQ, because they did a lot of IQ testing. And they were trying to figure out what human beings are and how they work. Well, a lot of Hollywood actually had been voting for communists. There were communist parties in the 30s and the 20s. And they were getting a lot of scrutiny from the federal government. And people don't realize how many communists were in the federal government and were legitimized, and like that was considered to be a good thing. There were even a couple of communist revolts that happened in the early 1900s that are kind of forgotten about or erased from history because they involved violence and shit. A lot of that shit was up north around factories and stuff. Well, at the time that the war had happened, the government, the military-industrial complex and the government basically got taken over by the military. They had primacy in the functions of everything. And they went to Hollywood and they said, look, if you help us win this war and do your patriotic duty, we're not going to come after you over all this, your links to these communist parties that we don't really like. And they said, okay, yeah, fine, we'll do that. So the Hollywood and entertainment, because it was just radio and television and movies, really, well, television later and movies, became joined to the military system and the government system. After the war, they realized they had a big problem on their hands. They had these guys, millions of them, that were killers, all right? And they had come from more of a rural background. And they were kind of afraid to send them back to where they came from, out in the middle of the fucking woods or the sticks out in fucking Mississippi somewhere. They figured that was going to be trouble. So through the media, they were able to basically kind of, I don't want to say dupe, but influence these guys to move to cities, work in car factories and factories, and buy houses in the suburbs, and to get married and to have kids as soon as possible. They were trying to defuse all these bombs they had created. What those dudes did in World War II, especially against the Japanese, I'd be scared to be around some of them dudes and what they were doing to the Japanese on those islands. It was some of the most savage fighting ever. So they were trying to get these guys married off and get them into a suburban lifestyle as quickly as possible.
They were trying to chill them out.
What's that?
They were trying to chill them out.
They had to chill them out. So they were going to chill them out with television and teach them about the virtues of living a suburban life and having a wife and kids in a nuclear family where you go to work every day. And you're basically venting your frustrations out on this factory to build products that will help America survive in the world, to export all this shit. And you'll be able to buy a car, and you'll be able to buy a house, and you'll be able to move up. So they're kind of like, in a way, bribing these guys. It worked. Hell yeah, it worked.
Well,
these series, like The Addams Family and Father Knows Best and all this shit, was about deprogramming these World War II veterans and trying to civilize people. Those dudes fucking weren't civilized, not as you would know it today. They drank a lot. They were prone to violence. Because they had PTSD.
Yeah.
You know?
And they didn't really talk about it
No,
back then.
they weren't sure what that was. They noticed that those tendencies, and they were very difficult to control.
I've always said that it's very, very harmful for societies that encourage men to not express their emotions in a healthy way. That is going to blow up in your face.
Well, it just wasn't in the culture.
That's what I'm saying.
And weakness was not a virtue.
But see, I don't see that as weakness. Like, I think that's
They did.
that's what I'm saying. That's
did.
kind of one of the harmful things is like seeing expressing emotion, or fear or vulnerability as weakness. I think that's really harmful.
My Uncle Buddy was one of them.
That's gonna blow up in your face eventually.
My Uncle Buddy, I don't know exactly how he was related to me. It was on the southern side. I think that might have been my grandmother's cousin or something. And he was an island fighter. And I can only remember him as a child. When I was a child, I remembered him. And I remembered liking him. He was just a big, gregarious guy. And I can remember him drinking right out of a fucking bottle.
Yeah, a lot of dudes back then,
right
it
out
was
of a
very
fucking
common
bottle.
in that generation.
And he was a big Fred Flintstone type dude, from my point of view as a little kid. He was dead by 40.
Yeah.
Drank himself to death.
That happened a lot.
Yeah. He drank a
I mean,
fifth.
they went through some shit. I get it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was great that when you come back, there's like a culture that says you can't talk about it, you can't get upset about it, you can't go to therapy, you can't do anything like that, because that's that's for girls.
Yeah.
Or whatever. That's like a sign of weakness.
Yeah,
and I think that ended up like fucking them in the end.
They were just ultra macho.
Yeah.
And any problems they had, they just drowned them with fucking alcohol.
Yeah, which, like I said, super not healthy.
Yeah.
Not healthy.
Yeah, so they didn't talk.
Nope.
Everything was real positive. But he had something going on. There's no telling what he did out on those islands or how much.
That's what I mean. They kept it all to themselves, but it was just like eating them alive, like from inside.
He drank a fifth of. I remember my dad told me when I got older that he drank a fifth of Scotch whiskey a day, minimum.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Yeah. So he was dead by 1980. So late 70s.
It's a shame. It's just a shame.
So he might have been in his late 30s, actually, when he died.
That's fucked up. Fucked up.
Yeah.
Ira says, I feel like the Addams Family shows that it's okay to be comfortable in your own skin and to be different. There's bound to be people similar to you who become friends or like family. That's what I always kind of liked about that show. Like I said, that they just showed these like complete weirdos as regular people, which they are. Which, like I said, I think was like really ahead of its time.
Well, that's a message you can take from it because it's a multi-directional, and each little episode had its own little lesson. But the guys that made it, the people that made it, wanted it. They're trying to diffuse these people coming back from the war. That's part of the thing. That you moved into this suburb and people aren't like you, but that's okay.
Yeah,
because they came from a very regimented background in the military, or when they were kids out in the middle of the fucking boonies, where everybody they saw was exactly like them. So they didn't have Mexicans living next door. They didn't have gay people over across the street. They didn't have that kind. So they had to fucking
like
somehow
fucking
break
out.
people to chill them out. To
people
break down the
right?
idea that not everybody is like you in California.
Yeah,
especially.
So calm down.
A lot of that shit, even though it was nationwide, was more targeted towards California. It was just, everybody else was just listening in. They knew that it was nationwide and that everybody was watching it, but it's just like myopia is kind of natural. The guys that are writing these stories live in California, and everybody knows in California they were kind of bubble. And the stories that they're writing are actually for their local area. They just happened to do well outside the country.
All writers, and I am one, so I know. Like, you kind of use your own experience to,
tell a story.
I mean, you can only see things from your own perspective, obviously. You can try to see things from other people's perspective, but, So I can see where they're coming from with that.
But all those family-based things, you know, fucking. What was that other one? The one that had Marsha and the Brady Bunch.
Brady Bunch, yeah.
Brady
that was
Bunch,
70s.
Brady Bunch was later on. That was about divorce.
Yeah.
They were trying to tell people that, you get divorced, and you can get divorced and you can remarry. And your kids can live in the same house.
Yeah, and it'll turn out
and
okay.
It is okay. That was like a revolutionary idea back in
Yeah,
the
that was
70s.
kind of a big deal back then.
Right.
Because it was kind of... I feel like divorce was still kind of frowned upon.
Yeah. And what do you do? They weren't
Even up
taught.
until the 60s.
They weren't trained by society of what do you do after divorce. So you just, that's it, you're single, that's it, it's over. No, you can remarry. You marry another person.
It's fine.
And they remarried other people who were
that big a deal.
divorced. Another one that they
big a deal.
did that was real famous was oh shit, man, I just forgot it thinking about it. Three's Company. Three's Company was about two girls and a guy living in the damn apartment together. But the guy has to pretend that he's gay.
Because otherwise
The
that's
landlord
like
would
not
kick him
allowed.
out.
Right.
And that would, some people are like, what the fuck is this?
Which
In
nowadays no one would care.
No, nowadays nobody cares. But in those days.
But back in those days it was kind of a big
the
deal.
idea that a guy's was living with girls and they weren't married, that was, you couldn't have that.
And they weren't sleeping together.
Yeah, they were just roommates.
They were just roommates.
Yeah.
Like now, like no one cares. That
Right.
happens all the time. But it's like back in the 70s, that was like a big deal. And there was a big thing about him having to pretend to be. That was the whole premise of the show.
He said he had to pretend
Was
to be gay.
he was straight, but he was pretending to be gay, so no one would question him living with two girls.
Yeah. So
And,
Mr.
like,
Roper,
not- and not
Mr. Roper
sleeping
wouldn't
with
kick
them.
him out.
Which is so funny to think about nowadays, because I'm
Yeah.
like, that's a ridiculous
Yeah, it's
premise.
ridiculous.
It doesn't make any sense nowadays. But yeah,
It did back then.
It did back then. It did back
Yeah.
then. Like I remember, because I used to watch that show.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's just funny to think about how far we've come since then. High Desert says, all my classmates loved bands like Journey and Van Halen. That's
Yeah.
how I got into The Cure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel like what happened when I was in junior high and high school. Junior high, I feel like there were two, like, people who cared about it. Like, I guess all the normie jock type people were into Van Halen and all that. So I didn't really care about them. But there were, like, two contingents. There were the kids that were into, like, goth and new wave and stuff. And then there were the kids that were into metal. And there was, like, I don't know if I want to say a battle, but there was kind of a thing, like, where people would pick on each other from those two cliques. You know what I mean? So there was that. High school was a little bit better, but I did feel like I still ended up in the group that was like into goth and punk and industrial and stuff, and then all of the other people, like the jocks and cheerleader types, would like pick on us all the time. You know what I mean? Especially the dudes, they got like beat up all the time. Especially if you wore eyeliner or something like that, oh, forget it. You were getting your ass beat. And this is back in the late 80s.
Somebody mentioned Elvira. The Elvira was she was great, but she was a rip-off act. This was the original. Mela Nern Vampira. She had
Misfits wrote a song about her.
Yeah, she had a television program where she would do.
She just introduced me.
Yeah.
She was like a horror host.
A horror host. That's right from the thing is almost none of her shows survived. The recordings were all destroyed evidently. And this girl here was the only girl that actually fucking ever wore a Chelsea back in the 50s.
Which super ahead of her time.
Yeah, way ahead of her
Super
time.
ahead of her time.
Yeah.
Look at that. Look how fucking awesome that is.
Yeah. Elvis dated her. Elvis liked her. Elvis liked vampire stuff. Elvis wore shit that he saw off of Hammer horror films too.
Well, you know.
There's
horror movies are cool.
Yeah, there's Mela and Elvis right there.
Yeah, see? Look at him he's got like a devil lock, like fucking Misfits.
Yeah. Now Mela was crazy. Don't get me wrong, that bitch was crazy.
She is crazy,
and she was stalking.
But she looks amazing.
Yeah, and she was stalking James Dean. She was basically the original goth girl, and she was copying Morticia Addams.
Yeah,
but not the movie, not the TV program because it wasn't out yet.
The cartoon.
She was
the comic.
The comic strip is what she was copying.
Because the comic had been around a long time.
Yeah. Way ahead of her time.
I mean,
That's the goth
we're
look.
we're all still trying to look like that. We acknowledge the predecessors.
I want to try to find that profile.
Because, like I
photo.
said, the look didn't come from nowhere.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people are like, you know, the post-punk era, like from the late 70s and stuff with Susie and everything like that, which, yeah, cool. We, like, copy that too. But, I mean, she's kind of the OG.
Here it is. This is her best photo, if you ask me.
I can't see it.
With her. Okay,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
She kind of
with her and her
She
Chelsea.
kind of looks like Andy.
She looks a little bit like our friend Andy.
She looks a little bit like her friend Andy there. Her hair isn't like that, but
right.
her
and,
face looks like
and
that.
that was the 50s.
Yeah, which is crazy to think about.
And she was gorgeous.
Way ahead of her time.
Gorgeous woman.
Way ahead of her time.
Never made any money, died broke.
Isn't that sad?
Yeah.
But I feel like that always happens with people that are kind of on the vanguard of shit.
Yeah.
No one appreciates it until later.
Yeah.
After they're dead.
Right.
Or after they're old.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When they can't do anything anymore.
Yeah. Bela Lugosi saw her and says, she's a hottie.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, way fucking ahead of her time.
Yeah.
She was in Plane 9 from Outer Space, too.
Yeah.
Although she didn't want to be in it.
That's
She was like, I don't want to talk in it. She didn't have any lines.
Yeah. That's a great photo.
She was kind of embarrassed about being
That's
in
a
it.
great photo of her. Sexy chick.
See, I wish I looked that good bald.
You gotta be. She was tall, and she.
That's what I mean. See, I'm like kind of a short, stumpy
Yeah.
kind of chick, and it's just like I feel like that won't look good.
She was tall and kind of thin, and with big boobs, and she was corseted, so her waist was fucking tiny. She had been using corsetry for a long time. She probably had a fucking
Tall, thin chicks
16-inch waist. You know?
look good.
Yeah.
You can do anything, pretty much.
Yeah.
And it'll look good. If you're kind of like short and stumpy like me, you kind of have to. You can't just wear anything. You have to be real careful about what you wear. And about how you do your hair, too. Because I would love to do my hair like that. It'd be so low maintenance. I would love it. But I don't think it would look good. I have a lot of it shaved, but I still have to have hair in the
you've
front.
been in training. I think if you were to fucking lose maybe another 15 pounds of fat,
I don't know, though. I don't know, though, because I'm still real short. So I don't really know if... I don't know. I just don't know how it would look.
It only looks good if you have cheekbones.
And see, I don't really have
See,
those.
that's the
I kind of
thing.
have like a little round baby face.
Yeah. Yeah, you tend to be round.
Yeah. And I've
The
always
closest
had
thing
I've
to-
always had that.
The closest thing to Jen, as far as famous celebrities go, is Amy Lee. Jen favors Amy Lee a lot. When you see Amy
And a
Lee,
lot of people have told me that I look like her.
when you see
From Evanescence, if you don't know.
if you see Amy Lee with her natural hair color, which is red, then they look a lot.
My natural hair is also red.
Yeah.
It's like, well, it's not red. It's like coppery orangey.
Yeah.
Is my natural hair color.
Amy's a ginger.
Yeah.
She just doesn't really appear to be a ginger. She dyes her hair black.
Yeah. Well, I have.
But so did Elvis. Elvis's hair was fucking brown. He dyed that bitch black. Elvis was goth.
It's
for the
just
time.
easy to maintain.
Yeah.
It's easy to maintain. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it goes with everything. That's what I kind of like. I liked when my hair was bright red, but then I always felt obligated. I was like, oh, I have these kind of cool outfits that have other color accents in them, like blue or green or purple or whatever, and it's like I can't wear it because it'll clash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So if your hair is just black, you can wear anything. And then I just have wigs. You know what I mean? It just works out good.
Sandra says she has nice eyebrows. Yeah, totally painted on.
Well, yeah, that's what I do with mine too.
Yeah.
Cause shit, man, I don't have time to fucking pluck my eyebrows. Come on. I know you always make fun of me for saying pluck.
Yeah.
Tweeze.
You pluck a chicken. Yeah.
He always says, every time I say pluck my eyebrows, he's like, no, you tweeze your eyebrows. You pluck a chicken.
Yeah.
He says that every single time. Okay, so tweeze my eyebrows. I don't have time to do that. I used to make him do it when I had actual eyebrows. But then I was like, fuck it. I'm just going to like shave them off. I'm going to shave them off and I'll just draw them on. And I can just draw them on whenever I want. Or I'll just leave them off if I don't. It's much easier. Much easier. Let's see. Oh my god, we're so behind on the comments. Yeah, High Desert said that's why they pushed the GI Bill to keep the ex-fighting men busy in college. Otherwise, it would have been a revolution if they ended up back in a Depression-era breadline. Yeah, I do kind of feel... And, like I said, it did seem to work to some extent. But because particularly at the time, like, dudes were not encouraged to express their emotions or anything like that. I do kind of feel like they went internal, and a lot of them kind of started drinking a lot or like did some unhealthy behaviors that ended up probably not that great, but you know what I mean. And let's see, Hugo says, my mom threw my Shout at the Devil vinyl album out the window like a Frisbee disc because the black star on the cover, she did it twice. Holy shit. Yeah, I didn't have like my one thing. Thankfully, my parents were cool. I wasn't into black metal like you were.
Yeah,
but
I liked all the metal.
I was into like goth and new wave and stuff. But like my parents were pretty chill. When I started dressing gothy, they didn't say anything bad about it. They were just kind of like, oh, that's interesting, whatever. But they're just kind of like, okay, you just do you. And I will always appreciate that because I didn't have the whole parent thing where they were just like tearing posters off your wall or anything. They were pretty chill about it. They were just kind of like, well, you like it, so it's fine.
I was listening to like metal and black metal through like sophomore and junior year of high school. Actually freshman too. But by the time I was like a sophomore or something, I was secretly listening to shit like fucking Bananarama.
Yeah, we were talking about that before the show.
Fucking, I had
because we were listening to like Bananarama.
So I was listening.
We were listening to Bananarama before the show.
Yeah, and
and Tom's like, man, a lot of dudes were listening to this on the sly. I'm like,
yeah,
I believe it. I believe it.
Those girls were fucking cute, man. And,
they were cute,
and they could sing. And
I would hit each. Well, especially Siobhan. She's obviously
Siobhan was the goth one.
She was obviously the hottest one.
Yeah,
but they were all pretty.
They were all hot.
They were all hot though.
They just looked different. They were different from each other. But but by the time I was a senior, man, I was fucking deep into David Bowie, Sisters of Mercy, goth music, punk rock. I liked it by that time too. I was listening to punk rock too. Actually, I was listening to punk rock in my sophomore year. I was jamming to the fucking Sex Pistols and the Exploited.
Oh my God!
Minor Threat. I think it was a Triple Threat.
Oh,
or
Minor Threat.
That's what it was.
They're from DC.
Yeah,
I love Minor Threat.
Been a long time since I've heard those. And then there was
and
one called
Fugazi. There was
another.
Who Ian McKay started.
There was another one. I think they're called the Toy Dolls.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
I think they were called the Toy Dolls. They were good.
I remember them. Nobody talks about them much anymore, but I kind of remember them.
Yeah. And then, I gotta look that up and see what they still sound like. It's been a long time since I've heard the Toy Dolls.
See, I never really. There is a little bit. There's a slight amount of crossover in the goth industrial scene because we know some people that are also into goth industrial, but are also into black metal. It's not super common, but it's not uncommon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, and everybody's just kind of like, yeah, whatever. It's just kind of a thing. I never really got into metal. I appreciate some older metal now that I'm older.
Leslie brings up Skeletal Family. Remember that?
Oh my God, I fucking love it. I have a bunch of Skeletal Family on my phone that I play on my Spotify playlist. I saw them in New York City at the Drop Dead Festival back in 2008 or 2009. But they had a different singer, though. It wasn't Anne Marie, but they were still good.
Like Specimen. They were good.
Oh my God, Specimen are so fucking good. What? I'm into Aliens X Fiend. I like Aliens X Fiend.
Yeah, who was the ones that were like cousins to U2?
Virgin Prince.
Virgin Prince.
Virgin Prince.
They did Baby Turns Blue and all those.
Baby Turns Blue and what's that one? What's that other song called?
And I liked a lot of the neo-folk bands, Death in June and
Tom loves
Current
all that.
93 and David Tibet and all
all that shit's good too.
I love that shit.
I love all that stuff.
And then I like the newer versions of all that stuff, like the homaging, like fucking Death in Rome. They're real good. Fucking
or if you don't know, they're a modern band, but they do 80s and 90s songs.
Covers.
Like sometimes cheesy ones, but some, you know what I mean? But they'll do them like super serious like goth covers and they're awesome.
Yeah.
They did like Pump Up the Jams.
Yeah, neo-goth.
Love is a Battlefield, Take on Me.
Careless Whispers.
They
did all this fucking
they did like all these fucking I think they did Barbie Girl.
Yeah, Barbie Girl.
Right?
Yep.
So did they do The Sign?
Yep, they did the sign.
Yeah. So they did like all songs like that, but they like super got them out, and they're really, really good.
Yeah, real good.
They're really good.
Yeah.
They're great.
Just covers. That's all they do.
That's all they do is covers.
They're all dressed up in these looking like German-looking outfits, like
Awesome.
like the brown shirts and
It's
shit.
awesome.
Like
They have a whole aesthetic.
Yeah.
They have a whole aesthetic.
Yeah.
But their songs are like really...
Death in June. It's the same.
Yeah,
it's
that's
the
why they're
same
called Death in
sound as
Rome.
Death in June. They just call it Death in Rome.
Yeah, but they just take songs that you wouldn't think would sound like goth songs.
Yeah.
And they totally make it sound like a goth song.
Yeah.
Like if you didn't know that was a cover, you probably would not know. You know what I mean? Like you would just think, oh, that's like a gothy.
Yeah, they're
like,
taking
cool,
a Wham song and making it a goth
sure.
song. Yeah.
Or like I said, well, and I've said this before. I think a lot of like 80s, I think the reason that a lot of goths were into 80s new wave, even though it's like kind of poppy, is that 80s new wave, a lot of it had, it was like kind of upbeat and everything like that, but it kind of had a melancholy to it. You could very easily turn that into a goth song, which like I said, they took Take On Me, which is a real upbeat kind of song, and they turned that into romantic. Like a super, like a dirge.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's great. It sounds really, really good.
Take on me.
Yeah. And they didn't really have to change it all that much. The cool thing, the thing that I always loved about 80s New Wave was that they took all of these horrible, depressing topics and turned them into upbeat pop songs. Look at something like 99 Red Balloons, for example. Or 99 Luftballons, if you like, that's the original one. Who Nina did. That is a song about an accidental nuclear war, is what that is. But it's like a super upbeat. Look at something like the OMD song Enola Gay. Yeah, that's about the bombs dropped on Japan, like the hydrogen bomb.
I don't think it'll get us because I don't think. Let me see what.
Yeah, you might.
Let's Pump Up the Jam.
Pump Up the Jam. Okay. It's great. I love it. Yeah. That's kind of what they do. That's what they do. I love that they changed boots for booty. I love that. I love it. That's fantastic. Fantastic. But yeah, that's what they do. They take songs that you would never think were like goth songs, and they turn them into goth songs.
Yeah.
And it totally works. It totally works. Love is a Battlefield is my favorite. Like the Pat Benatar song. But they're all good. I don't even remember. Didn't they do another one just recently that you told me about? I can't remember what it was. Didn't they do another one just recently?
They don't release albums. They just release a song at a time. Just go on
and a video.
And a video. Just go on Death in Rome on YouTube, and you can see all their shit.
Yeah, it's great.
It's free. But they also
I love it.
They do live shows too.
Yeah. I love that shit. Well, every now and then, like if we go to Mannequins, for example, and the DJ Paul Vane, if he sees Tom there, he will play that.
Yeah.
Because
if he sees me, he starts playing.
He'll play that. Because he's like, oh, Tom's here. I'm gonna play that song.
I'll be the only one to dance to it too.
Well,
it's usually early.
Well, yeah, he plays it kind of early if we get there.
If he sees me, he starts playing.
Oh, we'll see. Okay. Yeah, let's see.
We smoke cloves.
Yeah, I haven't for a long time.
Stop smoking.
Because we stopped smoking. Yeah. If I'm drunk enough and I'm out and somebody offers me one, I'm not going to say no. But I don't.
Disarms.
I don't buy them anymore. But I do like them.
Disarm blacks.
Yeah, that was kind of the thing, wasn't it? You do kind of see that. You don't see it as much as you used to. Yeah, if you see anybody smoking, I mean, you do occasionally see people vaping, but not as much as you. I mean, the last few years, I haven't really seen anybody smoking or vaping.
No,
much.
It's all just kind of
other than sometimes like you see the older people, because we know a couple of the older people like our age that still smoke. Yeah. But it's very rare. You don't usually see much of it anymore.
I'm gonna shut it down in a few minutes.
Yeah, we gotta get going. I'm like so behind on the comments though. I feel kind of bad. Yeah, Hugo said in the beginning the Munster show had to change the look of Lily Munster because she looked a lot like Morticia. Yeah, I mean, they made her look more like the Bride of Frankenstein, which totally works, but that was good. I like the Munsters too, but I like the Addams Family a lot better. Because it was kind of, like I said, it was kind of the first one. Yeah, Vampira, Elvira, let me see. Holy crap. I'm sorry I got so behind, but we just got, like, distracted. High Desert said there's a story that she put a death curse on James Dean. I have heard that, too. I don't know if that's true or not either, but I have heard that also. And let's see. Yeah, oh, Blake 7. Yeah, I kind of remember that. Xana said, I heard Tom say before that tall girls have the hardest time getting dates. Yeah, and from my experience, because I was friends in school with girls that were tall, and I'm talking like over 6 foot tall, and they had a bitch of a time. Dudes don't want to be with somebody that's taller than them. You know what I mean? Thank you so much, High Desert. Have some cloves on me. I haven't bought any cloves in so long. Like I said, they do sound good. Usually if I'm out and I'm kind of like drinking and dancing and stuff, it's like if somebody gives it, because we have a friend that still smokes, and sometimes she still brings them and she's like, hey, you want one? I'm just like, sure, why not? But Tom can't smoke them anymore. Like, he just starts coughing. I haven't smoked one in a while, though. I think the last time I smoked one was when Ibar was still downtown, which it's not anymore. Now it's in the factory district. Xana said my parents let us watch almost anything. Yeah, mine did too. They weren't really bothered. I mean, they didn't get it because neither of them were into horror shit or anything. I kind of, in a way, I kind of envy kids growing up nowadays that are raised by parents like our age or a little bit younger that are super into horror movies, and they're just like, hey, what horror movies can my kid watch? And all of a sudden, I think that's so awesome. My parents were like, they would let me watch anything. They didn't care, but they didn't really get it. They weren't like really into horror, so they were just kind of like, oh, okay, we don't understand what you're doing, but just do what you do.
Okay, super chat.
It was just kind of like, yeah, that's super awesome. He said have some cloves on me.
Okay, thank you.
Can you even get those anymore? Yeah, you can.
You can get them, yeah. You can go next door to fucking mannequins. They have them.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
I forgot that they have that little shop. Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, High Desert said, now I'm feeling zombified. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Aliens X Fiend, yo.
Yeah, Aliens X Fiend.
I love Aliens X Fiend. Let's see. I guess. Oh, High Desert said, Swans did a great cover of Level Tears Apart. Yes, they did. I fucking love the Swans. Probably, I'm trying to think what my favorite album is of theirs. That was the band that we saw that you had that you freaked the fuck out that
Somebody
night.
dosed me with something.
Yeah, so that was like a bad night. But I was like super excited to see them because I had never got to see them before, and you kind of ruined it. But it wasn't your fault though. But yeah, I'm just kind of like maybe. I want to say maybe Cop is my favorite or Greed. I can't really remember. But yeah, I really, really like the Swans a lot. Like I said, I saw them live, but it was kind of an experience. And High Desert says current 93 is an homage to Thelema, Aleister Crowley. Yeah, they're all into that kind of shit.
Yeah,
I think we
David
talked.
Tibet was all in it. There's a good. They had a good project album between David Tibet and Douglas Pierce from Death in June. It was called Nature and Organization. That's a really good album. I think that's the name of the album and the band. Nature and Organization. You can get it free on YouTube.
That's all. I like all that shit. All that shit is good. All that shit.
And it's all this fucking Friedrich Nietzsche meets fucking Arthur Schopenhauer. Yeah. Germanic Buddhism.
They're all into that.
It's all about. Yeah.
All that shit is great. I love all that. All right, so we got to wrap it up because we're going out and it's 9:30. So it's about a 20-minute drive down there. So, Xana said, we let my brother's 7-year-old son watch The Shining. He loved it.
Yeah.
Totally understood it.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah.
Because I love when movies that are that old, because shit, man, that came out in 1980. And I love when people that weren't even alive when that was made, like, go back and watch that and they just totally get into it.
When that movie came out, old people didn't like it. They didn't understand it.
Yeah, that was one of those movies that got, like, kind of...
Got bad reviews.
I don't know if it got kind of shit reviews. It got good reviews, too, but it kind of got shit reviews at the time, too, which blows my mind. Because that's, like, one of the best horror movies ever. Duh, obviously. But the same thing happened with The Thing. You know what I mean. People were dumb back then. They didn't know any better.
Yeah, they said The Thing sucked. No, The Thing was fucking awesome, man.
Yeah, what are you talking about? And I feel like everybody knows that it's awesome now.
Yeah.
So, Jesus Christ. People were dumb back then. They didn't know any better. All right. So, we're going to go get ready and head out for the evening. So, hopefully you guys have a good weekend. Like I said, we got to drive to Ocala tomorrow, too. So, we'll see how that goes. I might do another review on Sunday. I might not, because I might not have time to, like, watch anything. If not, then we'll be back on Monday night doing either Inception or The Departed, whichever one we feel in the mood for watching. So hopefully you guys can drop by for that. Thank you for hanging out with us this Friday evening. Thank you for the super chats, and we will see you again probably on Monday night. Good night.